All right, ready to dive in. Today, we're exploring the world of, well, a fellow Sheffield native, Michael Palin.
Oh, a fascinating choice.
You know him from Monty Python, sure, but
Oh, there's so much more to him.
yeah, you'll see. Silly walks, travel documentaries, serious acting roles. The man has done it all. We've got a documentary and some excerpts to dig into.
Really paints a picture of a remarkable career, I think.
Exactly. It's not just what he's done, but how he keeps evolving.
Keeps that core, though, the curiosity, kindness, and that playful humor.
Yeah.
He's never lost that, you know?
Right, and that's what we're going to unpack here. So, starting point. Sheffield, 1943, regular childhood, no showbiz parents or anything, but his dad. Now, that's interesting, bursts of humor, but anger too, and a stammer. Makes you wonder, right? What impact did that have on young Michael's sense of comedy?
It is a question worth asking. That early influence, how it shapes you. And then you've got his love for The Goon Show.
Ah, The Goon Show.
Utterly surreal, absurd radio program. Total clash with his dad's taste, apparently.
So, even then, not following the mainstream, gravitating to something different.
Very interesting.
And then off to Oxford he goes. More into being funny than hitting the books, from what I gather. Any early signs of the comedic genius to come? Or was it all still brewing?
Well, he and Terry Jones started doing gigs, you know. Not all of them were successes, though, which is a good reminder.
Even the greats start somewhere.
Exactly. Those awkward early performances, gotta have them to hone the craft.
Trial by fire. Then comes the Edinburgh Festival, a real turning point.
Yes. David Frost spots them. Leads to writing for the Frost Report. High-pressure stuff, I imagine.
Competing with established talent, right.
Exactly. But instead of being intimidated, they saw it as a challenge, a crucible almost, to forge their own voice. And that need to stand out, to be different, I think it's directly linked to the formation of Monty Python.
Okay, now, tell me, how did this legendary group actually come together? Was it a grand plan? A stroke of genius?
You might be surprised. Almost accidental, really. The BBC executive who greenlit the show, he later admitted he hadn't a clue what they were pitching.
So one of the most influential comedy troupes of all time exists because someone shrugged and said, why not? Incredible. But what made them work so well? They each brought something different to the table, right?
Absolutely. But Palin, he was often the glue, you know, smoothing over creative friction, keeping things running.
Yeah.
That undeniable charm, that relatability.
Yeah.
It shone through.
Speaking of shining through, those iconic sketches, silly walks, dead parrots, the lot. Was there a method to the madness? Any juicy behind-the-scenes stories on how those came about?
Like the Holy Grail scene, you know, with the coconuts for horses. That wasn't some meticulously planned gag. Spontaneous idea born from budgetary constraints.
Oh, I love that. Limitations breeding creativity. But then you have Life of Brian, stirred up quite the controversy with the religious satire.
And it's worth noting, Palin himself had some discomfort with that level of satire. Shows a fascinating tension, I think. Pushing boundaries, yet his personal beliefs. Maybe foreshadowing his later career choices.
Even within this groundbreaking group, he's wrestling with his own compass. And then, even with Python at the top of their game, there's this sense that Palin needed more. Restless, almost.
That's where the travel bug bites. And trust me, this next chapter, quite a departure, even for someone as unpredictable as Michael Palin.
Travel bug bites, huh? I mean, Python was huge. What prompted this big shift?
Success wasn't quite enough, it seems.
Not enough.
Palin felt, I think, a bit stifled creatively. Needed a new outlet, a new challenge for his talents.
So he just decided, right, I'm going to become a world traveler.
It started with a pretty audacious pitch, actually. A television show based on Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days. Recreate the journey, film it. The show was a smash hit.
I can imagine.
And it really had a profound impact on Palin. First time he was really being himself on screen.
Yeah.
You know, not a character.
So from these carefully crafted comedic personas to just Michael Palin, the traveler.
Exactly. And that authenticity, I think, is a huge part of the appeal. He's not playing a role, he's experiencing the world. Viewers connected with that.
I bet there were some incredible moments along the way. Any highlights that stand out?
Oh, plenty. Let's see. During a snake banquet in China, he accidentally drank snake gallbladder.
What?
Thought it was a beverage.
Oh, yikes. Must have been a shock. Did the sources talk about how he handled those cultural differences? I mean, snake gallbladder.
They do. And it really speaks to his openness, willingness to embrace the unfamiliar, even when it's, well, outside his comfort zone.
Seems to be a recurring theme with him. Okay, what else? You mentioned something about a near-death experience.
Oh, yes. Landing a plane at the North Pole, The aircraft was ancient, barely made it down in one piece.
The tension in that moment, I can't even imagine. And then there was that time he cracked a rib during the Zambezi River rafting trip. Doesn't shy away from danger, this guy. Or discomfort, for that matter.
What's interesting about the cracked rib is he didn't even use it for a dramatic moment on camera. It happened off camera. He just carried on.
Tough as nails.
But that willingness to be vulnerable, to show himself struggling, is part of what made him so relatable.
Right. He wasn't this polished, perfect presenter. He was genuinely experiencing the highs and lows of travel. And we can't forget about the camel head.
Ah, yes, the camel head.
In a refugee camp in Algeria, the locals offered them, well, an entire camel head as a gesture of hospitality.
Incredible hospitality.
And Palin ate it for days, different parts each time, until, nothing but scraps remained.
He did.
It's those moments that make his documentary so captivating,
Mm-hmm.
The humor, the sheer absurdity of these experiences, and his ability to find the funny side of any situation.
It's a testament to his adaptability. That and a genuine curiosity.
So we've got this wildly successful comedic actor, reinvents himself as a world traveler, eats camel head, embraces the unexpected. What comes next?
Well, this is where things take a truly unexpected turn. After all that globetrotting, Palin surprised everyone by taking on some serious, dramatic roles.
Serious dramatic roles. Wow. Quite a leap from those wonderfully absurd Python characters.
It is, and that's what makes this chapter so fascinating, Could easily stayed in his comedic comfort zone. But no, he chose to push himself, explore these new facets of his talent.
Speaks volumes about his drive to constantly evolve.
Exactly. Never content to just rest on his laurels.
One of those early dramatic roles, a fish called Wanda. I remember finding him quite menacing in that, actually.
Oh, he was brilliant in that. Managed to bring this underlying sense of danger,
Yeah?
beneath that seemingly harmless exterior.
Right. Makes you realize those great comedic actors, they often have a really keen understanding of the darker side of human nature.
Absolutely. They see it all, the whole spectrum.
You mentioned some other dramatic roles, too. Which ones really highlight that range, that depth?
GBH is a powerful example. Played a politician with a severe stutter, drew on his own father's struggles for that role,
Wow. That must have been incredibly challenging. Emotionally, but technically, too.
Oh, absolutely. A deeply personal performance. And then there's The Death of Stalin, where he plays Vyacheslav Molotov.
Oh, I love that film.
It's darkly comedic, and he just blends the humor and seriousness brilliantly.
Seamlessly navigates between those two worlds. It's remarkable, always choosing projects that showcase different sides of his talent. What about the recent Monty Python reunion? Any hesitation to revisit the past?
Initially, yes. Understandably so.
Well, I could see that.
But it became a huge success. Proof that their brand of humor, it still resonates.
Timeless, almost.
And it also speaks to the enduring power of that creative collaboration, bringing those minds back together.
Absolutely. And how does Palin himself reflect on this incredible journey? A career spanning decades, so many different avenues.
He always seems to be looking forward, eager to embrace new challenges. He once said he never says never.
That's a great outlook.
Doesn't dwell on past successes. Sees the future as brimming with possibilities.
Inspiring, really, that constant evolution, that refusal to be confined by expectations or past achievements. So what's the takeaway for our listener? What can we glean from Michael Palin's multifaceted career?
I think it's about embracing the unknown, constantly challenging ourselves, and finding the joy in that process.
Not being afraid to try new things.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, to explore new avenues, to collaborate.
And to approach life with a sense of adventure, just like Michael Palin, with curiosity, with kindness, and with a healthy dose of humor. And on that note, we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Michael Palin.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey, and maybe even feel a bit inspired to embrace your own adventures. Remember, never say never.